So y'all gave me something today. I have to work on me. I have to work on me.
I came here and I talked to these brothers and they let me know what God was telling me, bro. They let me know what my father wanted me to do, bro.
That's right.
They explained to me that as a follower of God, bro, someone that believes in God, bro, our Father would not want us to know.
Shalom, family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do all things through His only begotten Son, who the world only calls Jesus Christ, real name Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. It's your brother, Matati Aban Ban Yum Yum. Out of that, Masada. Welcome back. We are going to continue our part 2 of Vocab Malone takes on Hebrews, Muslims, and Kemet live in UK. All right. Fair use, like we did last time. This is for edification, criticism. We're putting our own thoughts on it. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is for, right? So in the previous episode, we saw Vocab pretty much chopping it up with the host, just kind of, get things warmed up, things like that, right? A small little, I don't even want to call it a debate. It's really more or less of a discussion, right? And so now he's going up against this brother here. I don't know the brother's name. We'll find out here in just a moment. Before we get into it, make sure that y'all are liking the video, share the video, put a comment, and also subscribe, man. Subscribe, turn that notification bell on so that way you can be updated on when new content is being pushed out. And be sure to go to the main Masada page as well. You gotta get this edification, right? You gotta be able to keep your cisterns loaded with water, right? What are we talking about? That's spiritual water, all right? So make sure y'all do so. Check us out on IG. Check us out on X, right? We are there, all right? And be sure to tune in, all right? But let's go ahead. Let's not, wait. Let's go ahead and get this popping because I want to see how this continues.
Now, yeah? First and foremost, nice to meet you, brother.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming down.
Oh, definitely. I got the call from my brother Kalam. Gave me that bird call. He shouted me. He was like, Gabs, what are you up to? He was like,
this is
I
brother
got
Gabs.
a guy down here. Come down to the studio. Come have a chat. I was like, do you know what? It's been a long time since I've been on the show and done a few bits, even gone down to Speaker's Corner. I was like, do you know what? Let me just come down and see what's going on.
I would love
I'm glad you came.
We can have a nice convo.
Glad you came.
So, it's good, man. It's a pleasure. So I want to get straight into basically what you and the brother Kalam are speaking about, because I think I gathered from it that you're obviously a Christian, and some of the points that he was talking about with Kalam. There's a particular point, because obviously me, I used to be obviously a Christian growing up, Christian household. Mom, dad were Christians growing up. Obviously, I left the faith. Come down to the part with Kalam. A lot of people will call us the Kemetics and all that stuff. Even like with the Kemetic stuff, even now, I would say that I'm kind of not similar, but different from Kalam with that. I think there was a point in time where I did delve into a lot of that information, but then I came to a point where it's like that information can only go so far because there's limited information, and that's just factual. There's limited information that's out there for the masses to actually learn on a mass scale. So, like the brother Kalam mentioned, you have the stories of Asar, Aset, Heru, who else you got? Ra, the Ogdoad, all of them stories. But it's like those stories I feel like that's the only thing that's accessible to the masses.
Right.
Yeah. And it only takes, and there's only a few people that actually have learned and took the time out to delve into that. And then even then, them getting into that, you're not even going to get the full truth because so much text have been missing.
Yeah.
There's not a plethora of information out there to explain that. So for you to now then take that and then try and push that to the masses, I feel like it's kind of like an injustice. Whereas like the Hebrew faith, there's a plethora of information.
Right.
There's a lot of history and stuff that you can gain because it's accessible. You can look up stuff. Whereas with Egypt, most people still don't even know about the name Kemet. They don't even know what that means. And you want to get into all those ancient rituals and this system and the book of the coming forth by day, and no one ain't got time. We're not in the right time, that spectrum to delve into that. Do you know what I mean? So it's good for a certain extent to learn some sort of information and understand kind of what the people was dealing with back then, but it's only going to get you to a certain point. And that's what you and Kalam were speaking about when you were saying where could it go? And it's true, it can't. There's no further place it can go than what we have. We don't know if there's information that's been hidden in certain libraries, or we don't know about information that's been destroyed, during times of war and fires. And the library at Alexandria things got burned. We don't know. This is just what it is. It's just the facts. That's just history. So it's true. It's a disservice to try and push. Like when I see guys trying to push this religion, you mentioned Jabari and all these guys push. I'm just like, but how far can you take it? Because we can't really get into the crux of it. We can't get to the main meat of the bones and understand where we're actually trying to go with this information. So me right now, I'm at a point now where I do a lot of information gathering, trying to understand certain belief systems, as well as world history and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I am at now with my journey. So, but I do have some questions for you.
Yeah.
With regarding the Bible and Christianity. So, okay, you was just speaking about the brother Kalam now, about God, about God, and the first thing that came into my mind was Genesis. Now, that whole bit where you was talking about Ra and what Ra is and where did he come from and the waters of Nun, and the first thing that kicked in my mind, I just went straight into Genesis 1 when it says, the spirit of the God was hovering over the waters. So my question would be is, what are those waters that the spirit of God was hovering over? And then also it makes mention of the void and the darkness. Now, it doesn't mention that the void and the darkness was created. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think there is an actual concept in Kemetic philosophy or teachings talking about the void and the darkness and the waters, the same waters of Nun that Kalam was make mentions. That's the same kind of waters that we see that the spirit of God was hovering over. And then
you'd be hard pressed to say that, but let's hear the brother out.
From that passage. Actually, do you have the verse? You got Genesis 1 there?
Yeah.
We can have a read. So let's have a read of what it says. So we got here. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and desolate, emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters." So this is where the question I was going to ask you is, the void and the darkness that was there with the Spirit, was that created? Was that always with God? And then what are those waters that he was hovering over?
Excellent questions for Vocab. Excellent questions for Vocab. He's not playing games. He said, let's go to the beginning of the book. What are these waters? And did this darkness and void exist beforehand? Let's see how Vocab responds. I'm curious. Christians, do you have an answer?
Yeah, well, I think those are good questions. There are similarities between these. You're going to find similarities with an ancient Near Eastern origin stories. That is true. So the waters are one of them. Some people might argue that the idea of order out of chaos. Some people might argue that creation by command, they might say. But then for us, we focus on the differences basically more so. But as far as what they are, well, I'm going to say that God created those two. When I put the scripture together, the message I get is that God created everything that is. The story sort of has to start somewhere, for lack of a better word. So it's starting somewhere, but it's not as if this was here just out there and God was over there. You see them, it's not like God didn't bring that into being as well. It's just telling you the very beginning of it, and after that you get the structured days. So I would say that it's not noon or anything like that, because the water themselves, for example, they don't have creative power. They're not birthing anything divine. You see what I'm saying?
I get
It's
it.
almost like what God started with, it seems. There is some mystery because of the brevity of the language. It is sort of curt. So there is a good amount of debate about what this is, what that is. Every now and then you even find Christians, this is really rare, but who don't believe in creatio ex nihilo, meaning God created everything out of nothing. I don't think that's a good position for reasons sometimes like this. But I understand what you're saying, but when I would put more of the scripture together, basically,
Okay.
to say that the message is again and again that God created everything. And this is basically just the beginning of the story. It's showing the foundation. Because also,
Man locked in. He like, okay, when you gonna answer my question though?
the pattern is God speaks and then it comes into being. So it is true in the beginning you don't see that pattern, but I would say there's no reason to believe these things were any different.
Okay.
Especially when I look at the other things where you have a God who did create everything.
Okay.
Like this is going in the New Testament, but I could show you some Old Testament passages as well, like in Psalms, that reiterate the idea of God created everything or all. Now, if the other side was going to argue against what I just said, I could see they say, well, that's later telling you what happened, but that's not in the original. What about the original story?
Okay.
They're building or adding on to it later. I could see what a person might say to that. But we would say, if Scripture truly is, and I imagine we would have a difference on this, a revelation where God is unfolding everything over time, it's not random Hebrews adding on, it's God unfolding revelation, because you can't say everything at once. But would your contention be that they got this from ancient Egypt, or that the Egyptian version is true and you just see parallels in both, or how would you think it factors in?
Okay. So, okay.
Now, Vocab, that tap dancing was great. That tap dancing was great, Vocab. Let's just get it. Let's just get it. You didn't even attempt to do so, right? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, right? In the beginning, God created, to create, shape, form, to shape, fashion, create, always with God, a subject of heaven, of earth, individual, man, new conditions, circumstances, or transformations, birth of something new, of miracles, to cut out, choose, make, cut down, dispatch, done, make fact, create, creator, right? So in the beginning, God created, carved, cut, right? He created, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Is it saying the Most High? No, it's talking about the Elohim, the angels. The angels created the heavens and the earth, right? And God, or the Elohim, said, let there be light, and there was light. The Elohim are the ones that are doing the building and creating. Why? Because the Most High told them to. That's the beginning of the creation. And this is the beginning as in the creation. This is the book of Genesis as in the beginning of things, or the lineage of things. And this is right now the beginning story of the heavens and the earth. That's what this is. And the earth was without form and void. Right? Let's see. I'm curious. Was without Torah. And Ariala, if you see this, I know my Hebrew is not of that. Don't crucify me, bro. don't crucify me. So, formlessness, confusion, unreality, emptiness, formlessness, a firmament of earth, nothingness, empty space, that which is empty or unreal, wasteland, wilderness, place of chaos, vanity, i.e., nothingness. The earth was without form. It was nothingness and void. But why? Emptiness, void, waste. The earth was not existent. It wasn't there. It was an empty space, right? And darkness was upon the face of the deep. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, this is where things get a little tricky, right? Let me take a stab at it. How many, in science, in modern science, we have 3 forms of water: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. There's water in your air. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. I'm sorry. H2O. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Right? You have water within the air. You have actual water in the oceans, in the lakes, and things like that. Ice is also a form of water. And then, granted, I do not believe that humans have ever made it to the moon. However, it would not surprise me of a feeling of weightlessness the higher you try to go up closer to the firmament. Now, when they do their training to be an astronaut, to go into space and things like that, you know how they train? Outside of G-forces, they train by teaching people how to swim in water. Because that's the same way that you have to move in quote-unquote space, like you're swimming. So, in my personal opinion, this is me speaking as a man, I believe that these are actual waters, but not like how we can perceive water as, but more of a primordial water that man on this earth has not seen nor can conceptualize. What do I mean by that? Even when humans try to go down into these oceans, there's a certain point of depth that they cannot go to. They can't. As well as there is even different kinds of waters, like a lagoon. How do you have a lake of water in the ocean and recognize that that water is different from the ocean that's surrounding it? There's a certain level of buoyancy that you can even look up, where you have rivers, canals, and other things also in the ocean, and it's like a little it's almost like a waterbed. It bounces. You can touch it, but you can't go into it. There are certain levels of waters that people cannot get to. There are certain fish that can go, but not all fish, right? Where do the waters come from that fill the earth? Let's read this, right? So, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. I believe that these are the same waters that we have terrestrially, and they have a different form that they take outside of the firmament. Again, that's in my opinion. We can't read that here, but let's see. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Angels created light, right? And God saw the light, and it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. So now it's the distinction. There was light, now there's light. We're going to make a distinction. This is light and this is darkness. He divided the light from the darkness. And he called the light day and the darkness night. And the evening and morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters." So we have the creation of light, the dividing of light and day. We had the earth that was without form and voidness, nothing there. And we see that the Spirit of God was moving on the waters. And now we're seeing, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters." So in the middle of these waters, we are going to put a firmament between them and let it divide the waters from the waters. Let's see. I'm curious. Mayam, or Mayim. Water. Water to the feet. Urine of danger, violence, transitionary things, refreshment. So, the firmament is to divide the waters. Right? Now, the firmament doesn't divide the oceans. It doesn't divide the lakes. It doesn't divide the rivers. It doesn't do that. But it divides the waters that would be on the outside of the firmament and on the inside of the firmament. Let it divide the waters from the waters. Verse 7. And God made the firmament. The angels made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. So the firmament divides the waters that would be under the firmament. What's under the firmament? The earth. Everything under the firmament is where you have your oceans, your lakes, your rivers, your continents, your countries, what we know today as earth. From the waters that are above the firmament. That's the dividing, right? So there's a dividing of the waters. Verse 8. And God called the firmament heaven. That is one of the heavens, right? It's high up there. And the evening and the morning were the second day. Verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heaven, and we called the firmament heaven, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. So, he said, okay, all the waters under the firmament gather in one spot. The waters under the firmament gathered into one spot, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. Verse 10. And God called the dry land earth. So the dirt, the thing, that's the earth. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw it was good. So the water that is under the firmament are called the seas. And then the dry land is the earth. This is how the earth and the firmament are created. So the waters that the Spirit of God walked on are the waters that exist outside of the firmament, right? A different type of water that we might know from under here, from under the firmament, right? Because we see that we, even in this firmament, in this place called earth, we have different water. You have salt water, you have fresh water. We even see that line of where the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean meet, and those waters do not mix. They do not mix. Just like there's certain waters that certain fish can only go to, but not all fish can go to. There's certain depths that fish can go to, but we as people cannot get to. So there are different types of waters. As far as the kind of water that was above the firmament, I'm a terrestrial being. I couldn't say. But I would say that all these waters are indeed connected, because just like how you can have ice, you could also have running or liquid water. You can also have water turn into what? A gas and go into the air, accumulate. All that accumulates in the sky, goes around the earth, and does what? Comes back down as rain. Water has a wide array of functions and uses. So the water that it's talking about, it would be akin to the water we have beneath the firmament, but I do believe it would be a different type of water above the firmament, the likes of which we as terrestrial beings do not know. And as well as, what did the Most High do here? Just to prove that it is water. What did he do? Let's see. Repented him, destroyed, Boom. It'll make the ark. Behold, he said he's going to bring a flood. Look at that. Genesis 6 and 17. And behold, even I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth. He's going to flood the earth with waters. and destroy all flesh wherein is breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. So, now watch this. Watch this. Genesis 7, and we're going to start at verse 7. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because the waters of the flood, of the clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. So, after 7 days, the waters were upon the earth. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month and the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the foundations of the great deep broken up. So the foundations of the great deep, the foundations of those waters, they were all broken up. And the windows of heaven were open. What is the heaven? Where is the window? We know that the first heaven, or the first thing that we know and can read about on what is classified as heaven, is the firmament. And it says the windows of heaven were opened. So the firmament was opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. The Most High opened the firmament, and it rained. So he opened the firmament, and the waters from above the firmament came in and flooded the earth. The waters he's talking about is water. As far as its composition above the firmament, I can't say. I'm a terrestrial man. But what I can tell you is that it's still water. And water is one of the most transitional properties and elements in this place that we call Earth. At least that's how I would have went after it, instead of what he did. Let's continue.
Adding on, it's God unfolding revelation, because you can't say everything at once. Mm-hmm. But would your contention be that they got this from ancient Egypt, or that the Egyptian version is true and you just see parallels?
See, that's Vocab's issue. He's looking for the point of contention and try to impose a point of contention that he's equipped to answer, when yet he himself was not equipped to at least attempt to answer the question directly. Sad Patty. Sad Patty.
In both, or how would you think it factors in?
Okay. So before I go into that last point that you just made, I want to go back to what you were saying regarding, obviously, the waters and the void and the darkness. And the reason why I would say that it is definitely a pivotal point, especially when we're dealing with the beginning, because this is now where we get the introduction of who and what this God or this spirit or this being is. Because we got to realize in the beginning there, we have the emptiness, we have the darkness, we have the void, we have the waters. Then we have the spirit, and then we also have movement, which is the hovering. So now we got to try and understand this is prior to any, supposedly prior to any earth, any sun, any day, night, any earthly things.
Right.
So this is before supposedly time. Now, we say that, people, we say, well, Christian.
I wouldn't say that it's before time. It denotes the start of our time, right? Because in that creation is also our starting point as terrestrial, as humans, as people call it, right? So this is literally the starting point of time. I wouldn't say before time. This is the starting point of time.
Christians believe that God is an eternal being,
right?
And this is always a question that I've always asked, like, what was God doing in this eternity? Because at some specific point in eternity, he now decided he was going to do these things.
Right.
And in my mind, the first things that come to my mind is like, okay, if I'm a God that knows everything, I know I have all knowledge of everything, and I'm just sitting here in my peaceful zen, whatever state that is in some point in that eternity, he decided, you know what? Let me create light and separate the light from the darkness, and I'm going to call this, and let me do this. So it is very important for me to understand exactly what the void, the waters, and the darkness is, because that was pre-time. And if these things were with God or with this spirit pre-time, it is very important to understand exactly what they are. You understand? Because we have a spirit being that is moving pre-time. Supposedly there's no time, but there's movement happening because he's hovering over the waters. There's waters which we still need to understand what those waters are that he's hovering over during pre-time, if this is meant to be before time. And then we also have the void and the darkness. And obviously we know that darkness is obviously a substance of something, because he now created light, which was to separate the two. So for me, I need to understand, I would always, in my mind, I'm always thinking, okay, why are these things here and why are they mentioned? There isn't really any detail going into it. I know you're going to say that, you know, from this, you made the point that, you know, these things weren't actually, they're not really, what's the word? They're not really important, because it's not like they brought things into existence or they had some sort of action to do, but they are very important because they're there in the beginning with the Creator, with God. They're in existence. They are there in some shape or form. And I think that would be like a disservice to us if we say, well, those things are there, but because they're not really giving that much action, we'll just put them to the side. Because then that also goes into my next train of thought of what God is. Who is God? What is this? You know, we know he's a spirit, but further down the line, we like you and brother mentioned, we have all these attributes. God being merciful, God being angry, God being hateful. Like, where did he obtain and learn these things? If you're in the total Zen void darkness, where did you obtain all of this emotions and these human, I would say like human-like characteristics? Because these are characteristics that we learn as a human being, as a physical entity. And obviously God is not supposedly human, he's a spirit being, but yet he's possessing a lot of these human qualities like hate, jealousy. Why would you be jealous if there's no one there before you? If there's no one there in existence with you, where would the action of jealousy come from? You understand? Where would the whole anger and stuff, if there isn't someone there for you to contest or to engage in battle or have some sort of, what's the word, controversy, where would the whole hate come from? You understand? Which also brings me to the book of Isaiah. You have Isaiah 45:7, where it says, I, the Lord, create good and evil. I create all these things. These things have come from me. So, like, these are just little questions and things that, in my mind, where I took time to think, okay, where are we going with this? And with regards to, sorry, just the last point, and you can go ahead. With regards to what you were saying about what's the connection between that and ancient Kemet, like, am I saying, are they both the same and stuff? Now, when we're dealing with ancient Kemet, especially with the Bible, from the Bible's narrative, the author of the first 5 books is attributed to Moses. Yeah. And Moses was raised where? In Egypt.
Yeah, no doubt.
/ Kemet. Now, give me the verse. I think it's in the book of Acts. I don't know what verse
Stephen says he learned the wisdom and all the learning of Egypt. Yeah.
Now, going back to what I said earlier, you know, when we was talking about how can the Kemet thing, can it go any further than what it is? And I said no, because the information is very limited. There's only a certain amount of information that we had. So that's why it can't go to a certain level. Now, going into what the scriptures are saying, it says Moses was learned in all the wisdoms and the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians. Now, you can say today, we only have, I think we have probably a smidget of the information that the ancient Egyptians were talking about. We still don't even know how they built the pyramids. Yeah, we don't know how they was able to make all these carvings, carry 10 ton, 15 ton stones from Aswan all the way up to Cairo. Now, if you're saying that Moses was learned in all the knowledge and all the wisdoms of the ancient Egyptians, that means he would have been well versed in all them ancient stories, all the mathematicians, all the ways that things was created. Do you understand? All the sciences. And even to this day, you know, Egypt is still a place where it's vast with knowledge and people can't comprehend how these people was able to get to the point where they make shows about saying extraterrestrials came
Right.
and gave them the information. Do you know what I mean? So if Moses was raised with all of that information and all that knowledge, we wouldn't be surprised now where we see little bit of information where it talks about the waters and the Spirit of God hovering over the darkness and the void and the none. We shouldn't be surprised if we see any parallels in information, because he's now an author, and anybody knows if you're an author and you need inspiration, of course, if you're learned and educated in a system or in a country where they're heavily in information, they already had their books and their traditions and their sciences and their medicines and all that. We shouldn't be surprised if someone who is now going to be an author, who's learned and all that, and they said he was mighty in words and in deeds, we shouldn't be surprised if he's now going to take some of that information. We wouldn't say copy, but of course you can borrow some of that information, because that's going to make your story what it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're trying to bring a new story, so you're going to take some pieces. We shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be shocked.
Listen, brother. And this is an argument that a lot of chematologists like to do. See, Moses, he was all wise in all the things of Egypt, right? He was a prince, so he know those things. And it's written in your book. See, your book copied the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at and that. Okay, cool. Let's find out. Now, watch this. This is Leviticus 18:1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel. Moses, the author of the first 5 books, right? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am Yahweh your power. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahweh your power. So after the ways of Egypt, we're commanded to not follow those things. Moses was not following those things. Did he know about it? Sure. He grew up as a prince in Egypt, right? But they'll go here because they think there's only 10 commandments when what I just read was a commandment, right? Watch this. They say that the 10 commandments found in Exodus 20. Oh, he got that from the 42 negative confessions. Okay, there's 42 of these things, right? 42 laws of Ma'at, or 42 negative confessions of Ma'at, right? Watch this. And God spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. First thing, a part of it. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Oh, I'm curious. Negative. I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain men and women. I have not stolen food. I have not swindled offerings. I have not stolen from God. I have not told lies. I have not carried away. These are negative confessions. I have not cursed. I have not closed my ears to truth. I have not committed adultery. I have not made anyone cry. I have not felt sorrow without reason. I have not assaulted anyone. I am not deceitful. I have not stolen anyone's land. I have not falsely accused anyone. I have not been an eavesdropper. I have not been angry without reason. I have not seduced anyone's wife. I have not polluted myself. I have not terrorized anyone. I have not disobeyed the law. What law is it talking about? What law is it talking about? I wonder. Because I thought this was the law. I have not been excessively angry. I have not cursed God. I have not behaved with violence. I have not caused any disruption of peace. I have not acted hastily or without thought. I have not overstepped my boundaries. This is a lot of I. I have not exaggerated my words when speaking. I have not worked evil. I have not used evil thoughts, words, or deeds. Interesting. What's evil? What is defined as evil? I have not polluted the water. I have not spoken angrily or arrogantly. I have not cursed anyone in thought, word, or deed. I have not placed myself on a pedestal. I have not stolen that which belongs to God. I have not stolen from or disrespected the deceased. I have not taken food from a child. I have not acted in insolence. I have not destroyed property belonging to God. A lot of these are pretty much the same thing repeated. So these are the 42 negative confessions. Are there positive ones? Oh, positive affirmations. I honor virtue. So there's more than 40. Okay. I spread joy. I am forgiving. I am kind. I am respectful of others. I am accepting. I follow my inner guidance. I converse with awareness. I do good. I give blessing. I keep waters pure. I praise the goddess and the God. Where is this in the Bible? Where is this in the Bible? I praise the goddess and the God. This is still all part of my eye, right? I am humble. I achieve with integrity. I advance my own abilities. I embrace the all. Where is this in the Bible? Right? I can see some of these, but none of these bring to mind or call to mind the commandments. Let's see if we can find them. Let's see if we can find them. All right. Let's F around and let's find out, because they normally go to the 10 because they just think there's only 10 commandments. Okay, cool. Let's see. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Don't care. I've not committed sin. I've not stolen food, stolen from God. Thou shalt have no, I have not cursed God, caused disruption of peace. These sounds like the laws of America for real. Not done evil, placed myself on a pedestal, stolen that which belonged to God. I don't see anything that says thou shalt have no other God before me. I don't see that. Verse 4, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Okay. Thou shalt not make unto thee graven images. I'm not seeing it. Are you? Are y'all seeing it? I have not placed myself on a pedestal. I have not stolen from or been, okay, I don't see that. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, thy power, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Okay, cool. Where does my say to we not seeing it. We not seeing it, fam. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Okay, I think I saw something similar to that. Let's see. Not slain, stolen, committed robbery, violence, not stolen from God. Okay. Let's see. Made anyone cry. I'm not seeing it. I have not cursed God, I guess, maybe. Take the name of Yahweh in vain, not spoken angrily, arrogantly, place myself on a, I'm not stolen that which belongs, I'm not stolen or disrespected the seas. I don't see that. Okay. Let's see here. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. We're looking for keep the Sabbath day. Keep the Sabbath day. Keep the Sabbath day. Keep the Sabbath day. Are y'all seeing it? Are we seeing it? We're not. No, we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it. Okay, cool. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee. Okay. Honor thy mother and father, so that way your ways may be increased in the land that Yahweh gives. Thou shalt, okay. Polluted, terrorize anyone. We seeing it? I'm not seeing it. They said that he took it. Thou shalt not kill. Okay, there's one. There is one. Washah. To murder, slay, kill. To murder, premeditated, accidental murder. As avenger, slayer, a murderer, assassinate. So this is thou shalt not murder. So not necessarily kill, because there is the law of the revenger of blood that we have, and you can read about that in Numbers 33, I think. 33 and 35, or 35 and 33. I always get them mixed up. Thou shalt not commit murder. Okay, I think I saw something like that in there. I cannot, that's robbery with violence. Okay. I have not slain men and women. Okay, there's one. That I have not slain men and women, but I don't think it's talking about, murder, because that's talking about murder specifically murder, an unjust killing, right? Let's see. Okay, I have not assaulted anyone, but that's not killing or murder. Okay, I have not been excessively angry, maybe. I have not behaved with violence, I guess. But yet, we have a law that, literally, the revenger of blood. You're behaving with violence. You're going to go kill that person who killed someone close to you unjustly. Like, what are we talking about? Okay. I've not overstepped boundaries of concern. Okay. Okay, so I guess that one's kind of loosely in there, I guess. Thou shalt not commit adultery. However, the committing of adultery is a universal thing. How do we know this? Because even before Exodus 20, and before the existence of who? Moses, we see in both with Isaac and in Abraham, where they were traveling, and they told their wives, Sarah, and at the time Rebecca. Was it Rebecca? I think Rebecca. Told them, pretty much, pretend to be my sister. I will say that you're my sister. And they did so because they didn't want to be killed by the men in that city. And they were visited by the Most High and said, and they went, why didn't you tell me that this woman was your wife? What if one of us laid with her? They knew adultery in their head was wrong. Back then, the notion of sleeping with another man's wife was actually looked at as wrong. It was commonly known. That's wisdom. Don't sleep with another man's wife. Thou shalt not commit adultery. So sure, we see that. Where'd it go? Okay, cool. I have not committed adultery. We found one. Maybe two with the slain, I guess. Right? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay. Don't lie. Right? I think we saw that. Let's see. I have not told lies. Okay. I am not deceitful. Okay. I have not falsely accused anyone. Okay. So 3 of those match 1. Thou shalt not steal. That's also in here, I believe. So don't falsely accuse people. Don't sleep with another man's wife. don't steal. That universally, okay, cool. I have not stolen anyone's land. Is there another one? I have not stolen from God. I have not stolen food. I have not stolen. Okay, cool. A lot of these things are just reiterations of the same thing. Crazy work. So far they kind of got the kill and murder. Maybe I'll give them half a point on that. They got the adultery. They got the steal. They got the bearing false witness. Okay, cool. 4 out of 42. Well, 4 out of 10 things we see compared to the 42. Interesting. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Okay. Let's see. Not committed sin, stolen, swindled offering, stolen from God, carried away food, cursed, blah, 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 blah. Not made anyone cry, assaulted anyone, stolen anyone's land. Falsely polluted myself, terrorized, disobeyed the law, excessively angry, behaved in violence, disruptor of peace, acted hastily without thought, overstepped boundaries, exaggerated my words, not polluted the water, not acted arrogantly, not cursed anyone, thought, word, or deed, not placed myself on a pedestal, I have not stolen from or disrespected the deceased. I have not taken food from a child. I have not acted with insolence. I didn't see that. I have not coveted anything of my brothers or neighbors or anything. I don't see that. Okay. And all the people in thunder. Oh yeah, that's the end of it. Those are the 10 commandments. So out of 10 commandments, only roughly 4 of the latter commandments that were said match up with 42 laws of Ma'at, or negative confessions of Ma'at. But he took all of it? Right.
So if people do see information in there that's similar to ancient Kemet, we shouldn't be surprised. It shouldn't be like, oh wow, no, you stole it from us. No. He lived there. He studied there. He learned all that information there. So we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be shocked. And we shouldn't feel away if he's going to use some of the information that he got from those people and maybe put some of that into...
And yet he got it from the Most High God.
His story.
Like what you thought them 40 days and 40 nights were. He was in there to get 10 commandments? Right.
And then use some of his experiences as well to add to the stories. We shouldn't be surprised. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, yes, brother.
Well, just so you know, my goodness.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I made some water. Sorry.
Got that boy quaking.
Speaker's Corner might do that to you.
Yeah, there you go.
So, when you were talking, I was trying to look up some of the relevant.
I will say this. He's asking Vocab some good questions, and he's making it plain to limit Vocab's tap dancing. I like it. Shout out to that brother for that.
Verses. I was listening to what you're saying. I was like, here's some that I might share and then talk about. But before I get to those, I would say it's fundamental what Genesis 1:1 says in regards to your questions.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, none of those are bad or crazy questions or anything like that. I understand, and that's a very rational, sensical way to ask them, even if we are going to have some disagreements. So I hear what you're saying, and they're not really bad. In fact, scholars ask very similar questions, and by that I don't just mean even Christian scholars, people who believe, they're not just scholars of it; they're actually scholars and believers. You know, what sometimes people call confessional. But before we get to any of that, is really the first verse to me is fundamental because it's setting the stage for verse 2. In the beginning, so the start, God created the heavens and the earth. So the heaven and earth is not just saying that it's a Hebrew way to say everything. Okay. And so then the next verse follows. Now let's talk about some stuff God made. Now the difference is It doesn't say God created the emptiness, God created the surface of the deep, but it just said he created heaven and earth. So everything you see after that, he's already created. It starts with his creation already. Those things didn't exist prior to him calling them into being. And what I would say is there's some verses that
He ain't going for it.
that idea. Let me share
He ain't
one.
going for it.
Showing that this is the Old Testament picture is why I would share these. Nehemiah 9:6. You alone are the Lord. The Hebrew there would be Yahweh in that instance. You made the heavens, the heaven of heavens with all their lights, the earth and everything that is on it, the seas and everything that is in them. You give life to all of them. The heavenly lights bow down before you. So there you see the completeness of creation. Just a few others. So there's nothing outside of that. It's not like you made everything except for the formless things that you constructed with or something like that. There's not an exception to it. Psalm 92. Now this is poetic. Before I read it, people must understand Psalms are poetry. And this, incidentally, Psalm 90 is the one psalm ascribed to Moses. Okay. Listen to what he says. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations, speaking to his eternality as well as to his character. Before the mountains were born, and that's why I preface this by saying it's poetic. Mountains aren't literally born. It's a way to say they're created. Or you gave birth to the earth and the world. So, again, he's not popping these things out, but it's a poetic way to explain everything. But watch what it says. Before you gave birth to the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, way to say eternal, you are God. So, to me, if I see this as attributed to Moses, I see Moses saying, you made everything, and you're never changing. One last psalm from Psalm 104, and then I'll comment on a couple other things you said, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Look at verse 24 and 25. Lord, that's Yahweh there, how many are your works and wisdom? You have made them all. The earth is full of your possessions. So he owns these things. There is the sea, great and broad, which are swarms without number, animals both small and great. The ships move along there. And Leviathan, which you have formed to have fun in it. That's how the NASB translates it. So you see, every place you go, I would say it's a consistent story because Psalm 104 is not a Psalm of Moses. Psalm 90 is. You see Nehemiah, you're going to get a similar message when you go to Hebrews, Colossians, John, all those things. But the key verse to me is the very first verse. So everything that follows is what God created already. The idea that those things have always existed alongside him or they're sort of there prior goes against what the story is telling you because it's saying he created everything. And then the follow-up, that's how they're always understanding it. It's not like God is taking something pre-existing because then you have to explain where did that come from? How did that get there? If there's some other reason other than God himself, then how is he really God when there's things that exist that he did not directly create? I would say it goes against the Hebrew conception, and that's really the big difference. It's not just when you look at the accounts, there's differences there. You have one God versus many gods, for example, but you also have Genesis has polemics against other gods of the ancient Near East in some ways. For example, on the fourth day, he created the sun. He didn't create it first. It's like the thing that is central in so many other A and E systems, such as Kemet. God waits till the fourth day, and he doesn't actually name it the sun, just calls it a greater light. It's a way to almost minimize its importance by what he's saying. Because it's like, yes, this is God's, but don't get too carried away with this. That's the way certain scholars have understood this. They've understood Genesis to have a polemic in it against the A and E. Now, the point is not to say there's no similarities. Remember, I immediately recognize, Gabs, that you're right. There's parallels.
Yeah.
Hebrews are part of the A and E, ancient Near East, as they call it, cultural neighborhood. No doubt about that. They're not aliens that got plopped down here and just, they share lots of space with their neighbors. And Egypt was especially influential on the ancient Hebrews. No doubt about that either. From the names to even...
He doesn't know how to answer. He doesn't have an answer. Bro. tried it, I guess, but the tap dancing is quite hilarious. It truly is. Like, bruh, you couldn't even stay in Genesis. Like, you couldn't even prove the point in Genesis. That's hilarious.
Employing some of the same wisdom literature.
Yeah.
Like, this is true. In fact, people sometimes, because of the Exodus, sometimes think of Egypt just as almost like a villain in the Bible story. But if you read the Bible story in regards to the Egyptians, they're not just seen as villains. It's an incomplete picture of how the Bible even portrays Egypt. Now, I don't want to go too far off, change the subject. That's not really what you're asking about. I understand that, so let me stop there. But I'm just saying it's more complex, and it's a deeper relationship than only one of animosity that you might see with the Assyrians. It's much more strictly animus. Not so with Egypt. Egypt took care of the Hebrews for a lot of their time there prior to the Pharaoh who arose who knew not Joseph. That was a new development. That wasn't their only version of the relationship they had. Now, in regards to Moses, Stephen does say that, but exactly what does he say? I just want to read that since you reference it. So this is when Stephen, an early Christian, is basically telling the Israelites about themselves, about their history, and saying the way you guys rejected the Messiah is how basically you've kind of acted throughout your history in regards to the prophets. But Stephen, of course, himself is Jewish. And in Acts 9, I'm sorry, I said Acts 9, I apologize. It's Acts 6. And in Acts 6, here's exactly what he said to make sure we got the right spot. Where did it go? It's in the speech. No, it's in Acts 7. I'm sorry. Long day. Moses was
He's hazed. He's hazed. He's hazed. He's spinning.
educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was proficient in speaking in action. So that's true. I would say that makes even more significant Moses' monotheism and what he said about God, which was vastly different. And he still did recognize himself as a Hebrew, because the very next verse says, but...
You trying to say that Moses was monotheistic is crazy. It's monolatrism, which that wasn't even a word at the time, but okay.
When he was approaching the age of 40, it entered his mind to visit his countrymen, the sons of Israel. So he knew who he was, and they would say, our God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that story begins with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So I would use Genesis 1:1 sort of as the catch-all verse in regards to what you're saying, where did this come from? I would say the first verse is telling you. And then I think you would have talked about God's nature and characteristics and prior to creation, but I don't want to go too long. We can get back to that if you'd like.
100%.
But I want to make sure you...
I do want to touch on that point. And I did in a video about the Most High having emotions and whatnot. This brother has it backwards. He's in the mindset of simply trying to say, well, these are very human things. So why does God have these human things like emotions to feel anger, jealousy, wrath? These are human things. But here's the kicker. We as humans were created by the Most High. We were given sentience to be like the angels who have sentience, right? To be a mental state higher than the animals, right? With that does come emotions. We're able to feel things, feel danger, feel threatened, feel love, feel kindness, right? To be jealous when our significant other is acting a way they should be acting with me, but with somebody else, right? Wrath and anger because my child or my children are misbehaving or acting in a way that I did not raise them to be, right? The concept of these are human things, but yet we were created by the Creator. Why would we not inherit these things from our Creator? Like we inherit things from our biological parents, our spiritual father gives us the same. He gave humans the ability to be sentient beings and to have a thought process that is not the same as animals, to have certain feelings that we can convey in different manners, right?
You were able to
Yeah,
get your points in.
Okay, so just want to go back to that. I'll go back to the beginning, back to the whole
Vocab
about
don't know
the
how to
waters
answer that.
and the void.
He
and
doesn't. He
creation.
don't know what to do with that.
Now, I get what you were saying, but it still doesn't explain the void, the waters, and the darknesses was there. Because look, the thing is, in Genesis, everything that was created that had meaning, God said what He was going to create, and He explained the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So even like now, if you go to Genesis, where we at? Let's go to Genesis. Same one. Genesis. Okay. Let's say chapter 6. Where we at? Okay, so it says, look. So 6 says, then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters." Yeah, and let it separate the waters from the waters. God made the expanse and separated the waters that were below the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. Yeah? And God called the expanse heaven. Now, the reason why this is important is because it still doesn't tell us what the waters were. Do you understand? So the expanse, he's explaining what the expanse is. He said he's created the expanse, the firmament, and he's giving us reason for why that firmament was there and what it was meant to do. But with the waters, we still have no idea. We still have no idea why it is there. What's the reason for it? You know, why did the expanse need to separate that? Because now in human mind, people are now thinking, hold on, there's a water above separating the waters below. What's going on? What waters is?
Mans is asking the questions, right? He's asking the questions, and all praise to the Most High that we did cover that briefly in the beginning of this when he first initially asked the question. Because it's true, like, bruh, well, explain what these are. And all praise, let me make sure, let me go back. Let's go back real quick. Mayam, right? Waters. Because that expanse, he's reading a different translation, but that expanse is the firmament, right? The waters, mayam. And we looked earlier, both, it's the same word for waters. Water of the feet, urine, of danger, violence, transitionary things, refreshment. Literally talking about water, right? So the waters that it's being referenced is, again, water. That's why earlier I went to the different states of what water can be. Again, now when I started going to that again, I let it be known. That's me speaking as a man, because there's nothing that you can read in the Bible that would give a distinction of what type of water, what state of the water it is. It clearly just says waters, right? When you have an understanding of water, what it can do, what we see that it does, right? Like, it's not that hard to get to that concept. But if you have someone like Vocab Malone who can't explain it, and that's why this brother's re-asking the question. Vocab, he on yo ass.
Is that what type of water is that? Is that an ocean? Because it says that the Spirit of God was hovering over that. He was moving over some water. Like, this is the things that come into my mind. So that's the only point I wanted to say with that, is that when God was creating things, he said what he was going to create, and he gave reason for why he was creating it. So the firmament, the light, which he said the reason why he's creating the light, which was next. The reason for the light, to separate the light from the darkness.
Right.
The sun, the trees for seed and for fruit, the fowl of the air, the humans, but everything that he said prior, after that, he gave reason to. But we still don't understand why the void and the darkness and the waters was there. There's no mention. There's no reason for that. And it's still something that was there when he was there in the beginning.
Very, very simple, brother, but very, very simple. These things were there in the beginning. It's simple what it is. The Most High exists outside of time, right? This beginning is strictly for creation. The Most High was not created. He's not a created being. He is the being that is existence and does the creating. So when you're reading this, and the earth was without form and void, it wasn't there. That's what it is. It was not there. It wasn't. Because we don't see that the earth comes up until we see where the Most High had the waters gathered into one place, and then from there came the earth. Literally what it says, right? Where is it? Boom, verse 9. Let the waters under the heaven, under the firmament, be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And what did they call it? And God called the dry land earth. So that is why earth was without form and void. It's giving the context on how early this is. In the beginning, at the start, God created the heaven and the earth. Context. In the beginning, we're seeing the creation of heaven. We're seeing the creation of earth. Simple. Verse 2, and the earth was without form and void. Both words for without form and void quite literally mean emptiness or nothingness. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. Why was there darkness? There was no light. There was no light. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The Spirit of God moved along the waters. That is what they were using to move along. It's simple as that. They're just moving above the waters. Right? We understand that water has many different forms. As far as what form of water this was, which I'm pretty sure is going to be the same Hebrew word, ma'im. Let's see. Ma'im. Water. Whatever form of water it was, is what was there. Right? Now watch this. Just again, to reiterate. Because you're talking about the void and the darkness, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Before there was the earth, there was nothing. It wasn't there. There was emptiness, and then there was darkness upon the face of the deep, and God and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. Simple as that. Right? The Spirit of God moved upon the waters that were there, the Ma'im. Right? There was darkness because there was no light. But then we see in verse 3, and God said, or the Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. And the Elohim saw the light, and that it was good. And the Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And darkness. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. Then there was the creation of light. And the Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And he called the light day, and the darkness was called light. It's not a hard concept. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Why? Because the Spirit of God was moving upon the face of the waters. So now they have this thing, the firmament. And they said, what? Let it divide the waters from the waters. It's not saying that there's two different waters. You're just dividing the waters. Because when that firmament's in place, is it not a division of waters? There's waters above the firmament. There's waters beneath the firmament. They're divided by the firmament. These are not difficult concepts to grasp at all. But when Vocab's teaching, you're not finna catch it.
In the beginning, it was there. So I still think it's still a big point that is going to be hard for someone, because I've tried to look.
And that's the thing with our people as well. They want the answers to these great mysteries and things like that, but your brain can't even conceive it. You can't even just read and take for what's being said here. You want to know, well, what were these waters? Where did this water come from? What is this darkness? You're looking for answers that predate you. And you're looking for these predated answers that you probably don't have the ability to comprehend, even if it was told unto you. Right? Because how are you going to... Okay, let's say the Bible does say where the waters came from. What then? What if the Bible does say, where did the void and things like that come from? What then? The answer is question. The question is now answered. What's your next move? What did Yahweh shall I say? How is it that I tell you earthly things, you believe me not? And yet, if I tell you spiritual things, you would believe me. And that's roughly paraphrasing. I'm pretty sure I butchered it, but you get what I'm saying. How can I tell you the things that are here on the earth that are true? You don't believe me, but you want to believe me if I tell you something spiritual? How do I expect for you to believe me? Right? And Genesis 1 is not hard to really understand. It's truly not. Let's continue.
To see if there's any information of why them waters is there and what it was created for, but I haven't seen it yet. And
they were there for the creation of the earth. That's simple.
Go.
They're the primordial waters.
There we go. Yeah,
You said that's new.
That's new. That's what I said. That's
You said that's who
That's
who and who that.
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
But see, here's the difference, though, right? Because even when you read the creation story of the Hebrews, right? Because y'all have, the river of Nun. It's already dictated as a river. Is it a river or water? Whatever it is, my bad. So, I don't know if it's a river, right? But it's of the entity of Nun, or it is that, right? And there's a story behind it. Sure, you can get the story of where it came from, what it is. Cool, I guess. But those waters are not described the same. Those waters are told to, because what story did the dude tell in the last video about from the waters came Ra as a seed, and then he moved out of the water. Like, you don't see stuff like that, right? You don't see that in the Bible. You see where the living creatures come from the waters, sure. But even then, that's something that we can observe today, because what happens when a woman's water breaks? The baby's coming. The baby is submerged in water. Not that difficult of a concept.
Your drink is there.
Oh, that's my drink. Oh, this is here.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
But I want to say this
The Rakia? Is that what you're talking about?
because
Trying to find it right now.
we've got 17 minutes left on the recording.
Oh,
Obviously,
okay.
this can continue, but the recording on my hard drive is going to finish in 17 minutes.
Okay.
So what I would love to do is just to swap you two
Yeah,
around.
no problem.
Take your drink because my brother's
What?
Muslim.
Yeah.
He can't drink. And he doesn't want to
Okay.
He can sit there.
So-
No. Because
So
Does he go back?
I know we're moving, but the one thing I wanted to do next, because I could tell we still wanted to talk about that, but I know you got to
got
move,
the Muslim dude.
is I would want to look directly at,
That's a conversation.
if we could pull up sources. I have a one here from
Jeez.
Hermopolitan cosmology, which arose from Hermopolis, some actual Egyptian creation myths themselves.
yeah.
Because I'm going to contend that they're not as similar as I think you might be implying. Which I said there's overlap, so I'm not denying that. But I'm denying, it seems like, the level of detail you might be saying.
Mans is ready. He's like, alright, bro, whatever. Shut up. Oh, it's my turn. It's my turn. Oh, man. Alright. So we're going to end this one here. And so when we come back, I guess it's the Muslim brother's turn. I haven't seen any representation of Hebrews. It just says takes on Hebrews, Muslims, and Kemet. I think that this was more of a clickbait option, but yeah, it looks like this goes just to the Muslim bruh. Okay, yeah, because this is majority of the this is crazy. Spoke for almost 2 hours straight with the Muslim dude. Alright, so when we come back, we will continue off and we'll see how Vocab does with the Muslim dude. Alright? But yeah, Vocab did a terrible job trying to explain Genesis 1 to the brother. Hey, this is why the understanding of the word of the Most High, the Abinah Yahweh, was given unto Jacob, and the understanding unto Israel. Again, roughly paraphrasing. That's out of that Psalms, man. That's out of that Psalms, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna get it. I'm just get it. get it. Psalms 147 and verse 14. He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. Praise ye the Abinawa Yahweh. Alright? Because, hey man, look, that was horrible. But it's okay though. Lord willing, that brother, them brothers, they see this, right? And the brother actually gets his answers in regards to this. But yeah, man, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all make sure that y'all hit that subscribe button. Turn that notification bell on so y'all can continue seeing, other content pop up. This series keep on going. Right, make sure to subscribe to the main Masada page. Make sure to go on IG and follow both pages. You got Masada and Masada DFW on IG as well. You got Masada DFW on X, right? Look out for that if you on that platform, man. But with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh. We do all things through His only begotten Son, who the world only calls Christ. Real name Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And with that, Shalom, family.
I've been known to handle business, this shit different. Hit the slab at any minute. Hope my people get this message. Around the way, they need a blessing. So I load up with my niggas, we stay rolling. Highways and hedges.